Hi guys, and welcome to another 5-minute explainer video for Armoured Digital. In this one we're going to cover what the force selection system is and how to choose your units. Now, quick word of warning, everything that you see in this video are all the prototype components, so the miniatures and the cards that you get are going to look significantly better than the ones I'm showing you here today. Now, another quick word of warning, depending on when you see this during the Kickstarter campaign, you may see some units that are not yet unlocked as stretch goals, or even some units that do not yet appear on the stretch goals list. That's fine. If you're interested in any of these units, please feel free to message us. They're being thoroughly playtested and we do intend to bring them out. Just whether or not we bring them out immediately during the Kickstarter is the question. Now, the first thing that you need to do when you are choosing to play a game of Armoured Digital is determine how many commanders there are going to be. We play either a 1 commander, 2 commander or 3 commander game, and each of those will indicate how many commanders each player is bringing to the table. For example, if you are working with the basic game set, that means that you are likely to play a 1 commander basic game. So each player has 1 commander on the table, and then there are 3 combat tanks to complement that. No matter how many commanders you bring into the battle, each of them go through individually the same force construction process. The first step, funnily enough, is to select a commander. And in this case, I've selected a Scald Berserker. You can select any commander from any faction, and if you're playing a multiple commander game, you don't have to choose them all from the same faction, unless you want to have access to the faction-specific victory condition. In the core game box, you've got 1 commander from each of the main factions, and later on we're hoping to be able to unlock some faction packs, so you have a whole lot more commanders to choose from when you're starting a game. Then the commander needs their command vehicle. At this stage, the only one available is the Centaur, but as we progress through the campaign, we're hoping to be able to unlock a couple more options for you, including the Vampire, a more combat-oriented unit, and the Keep, which is a bunker that you can command from. So there's our Centaur. Now, if you're playing the full game, there is a trait on the Centaur called Option (1). Now, this allows you to take 1 hard point from any of the different choices available to you. We have the weapon systems. Each of the 6 weapon systems has a Firepower 2 turret that you can add to your command vehicle to further customize it and make it more aggressive. Plasma and laser as our energy weapons, high explosive and rocket as our explosive weapons, and Gorse and missile as your projectile weapons. There's also support pods with a shield, sensors, and communications. For this commander, I'm going to select communications as my upgrade. Then you choose your combat tanks. For this, we look to the command value of the commander on their stat card. This commander has a command value of 3, so I can choose 3 tanks, but because I've chosen the Centaur as my command vehicle, I get to add +1 to this stat. Each slot for a unit is called a node, and so I have 4 nodes available for 4 combat tanks. I'm choosing a nice variety to cover a range of different roles, so I'm going to include the Wolf, the Rhino, the Elephant, and a Jackal. But what if I'd like to swap out for some other units when we hit some of the unlocks? As an aggressive commander, I might want to, instead of trying to position and fire my artillery, I might want to have units that can close rapidly and engage with maximum firepower, or that can avoid enemy fire using stealth as they get closer. Now, as this game has no points values, it's a simple case of swapping one in for another. These are both combat units I'm going to use, so let's swap in the Elephant and the Jackal for a Viper and a Cheetah. It's as simple as that. Now, if you're playing the full game, you also have 1 node available for a production unit and 2 for logistic units. For my production unit, I'm going to select a Wombat. And for my first logistics node, I'm going to select a Squirrel to bring the resources in when I need to feed it. Now, for my second logistics node, I could choose a second Squirrel. It's always handy to have a second in case the first is destroyed, or I could use it as a comms repeater, a spotter for the artillery, or even a battering ram to crash into enemy vehicles. However, I can also choose a support unit. Support units function as a combat unit in all regards except one. They can be chosen in a logistics node or in a combat node. Here I've added a Meerkat electronic warfare vehicle, one of the stretch goals from later in the campaign. Next we choose our orders deck. For a 1 commander game I can select up to 25 cards to include. Changing what's in the deck changes how your game will play, so it's important to choose well. There are some core cards that I'll always want to select. For example, Move, Redline, Shoot, Assault, System Crash, Capture, Core Wipe, those sorts of things. You don't have to just choose from the core set though. You can also choose from the additional orders cards that come with units. You can choose, once they're unlocked, from the faction-specific faction packs. And you can also choose from your Kickstarter or mailing list exclusive cards. Once you're happy with your deck composition, you're almost ready to play. Lastly, and this is something that happens at the start of each game, so you can adjust your opponent's forces, you select your production specs. These cards allow you to build the units that you like for later on in the battle. The production specs you choose don't have to be the same as the ones that you've placed on the table at the start of the game. Each commander is allowed to choose their research value +2 in production specs. So that's how you can select your forces for Armoured Digital. It can be a very quick process, taking no more than a couple of minutes, but equally, if you really want to analyse things and see what you can come up with, having a look at your deck composition is something you can go over before a game. As always, if you've got any questions, feel free to drop them here in the comments. Otherwise, enjoy Armoured Digital. Thanks guys, bye.